Hey, everybody. Lieutenant Joe Pangaro here for the Blue Heart podcast and the Blue Heart webcast. All right, so what you see here is on the front here is www.pangarotraining.com and my email, joe@pangarotraining.com. I welcome comments. Did you like the program? Not like the program? Do you want me to talk about other things? Whatever it is, you can reach me at joe@pangarotraining.com, and our website is pangarotraining.com. All right, so here we are in the Blue Heart Podcast studio. All right, this program is brought to you with a single focus. You know, law enforcement, we get a bad name. We get a bad rep out in the world. You know, people don't like us. They need us. Everybody knows they need us, but they don't like us. Defund the police, get rid of the police. And that's all a terrible place that we find ourselves in. Now, I can tell you, I've been in this business a very long time. And I've seen us go from heroes to zeros and back again. And we are seeing the tide start to turn, because when you back off the police, when you defund the police, when you pull the police officers away from their essential duties of protecting and serving, we find that criminals don't sit back and go, oh my gosh, the police have backed off. We're not getting arrested. So therefore, I think I will be a good and decent citizen. No, what we're seeing is the exact opposite. Human nature takes over. People who are prone to commit crime, people who are in the criminal element, and this is across all groups of people, right? This is not focused on any group of people, one particular, across all people who commit crime, because we know that lots of people commit crime. We see that people who commit crime, if we were to look at it, there's old sayings that go like, you know, if you have burglaries, round up the usual suspects, because burglars usually do burglaries, rapers do rapists, robberies do robbers. People that commit crimes, it's probably, I think they said about 27% of our population are criminals, and that's across the board. That's everybody, right? Across the board, about 27% of people commit the crime. So one of the theories back in the day, we had Rudy Giuliani as the mayor of New York. It was a great example. New York was completely out of control with crime. You couldn't go there with your family. It was seedy. Times Square was nothing but sex shops and prostitutes. It was a horrific mess. And then Rudy Giuliani came in as the mayor. And the reason they would elect Rudy Giuliani was because the city had been run by progressive mayors and city councils that had basically not concerned themselves with victims' rights. They concerned themselves with criminals, or not going after criminals, or it wasn't a concern for them the way it should have been. And the city descended basically into hell. And anybody who was around back then knows what it was like. I was there before and after. And when Giuliani came in, one of the things that he did, and his police commissioner and all the officers, is that they increased the number of officers and they empowered them to go out and fight crime. Right? Not go out and coddle people, not go out and explain 50,000 times to somebody why they have to submit to the arrest. They went out and they did police work. Now, for people who are in law enforcement now in the modern world, I watch some of these videos that are out there, and they're disturbing in a lot of ways. And here's why. First of all, you, law enforcement officer, you're not out there because you just decided one day, I want to go out and lock up people and stop cars and get drugs off the street. You didn't just decide that one day and just go do it. And they like, oh, come on in. Come on, you can do that. It's a career decision. And where does all this come from? Law enforcement comes from the people. The people of our nation, of our communities, our towns, and our cities decided they do not want to live in a chaotic, crazy world where people can hurt you, they can rob you, they can take things from you, they can destroy your life because they feel like doing it. So that's where laws came from. We, the people, demanded of our government, we want to be protected from people who would victimize us. So we came up with a whole host of laws. Every community has them. Township ordinances, state laws, federal laws, county laws, whatever you have. And these things cover the basic interaction of people with each other, right? So I may want your neighbor's car because it's a really cool car and I can't afford it. But that doesn't mean I can go over and steal your neighbor's car. No, that's car theft. So we don't want to live like that. You may decide, somebody walking down the street says, you know what, I think that woman is attractive. I want to assault her. And you would just grab her and assault her. We said, no, we don't want that in our society. That's not appropriate. So we made laws against that. Right? And that's the whole purpose of law. So law was put into place. Now, once you have laws, well, it's great that you have things written on paper. Oh, I've written this down. This is a law. And we all know that unless there's enforcement action behind it, people don't follow law. That's where you come in. That's why we have law enforcement agencies, and we train them. And we train them to be professional law enforcement officers, to make decisions out in the street, sometimes life and death decisions, so that we can maintain order and an orderly society that's not chaotic and it's not dangerous for every single community. Every community wants to live in peace and calm. Unfortunately, that 27% of us don't care about that. They want to cause mayhem. They want to cause trouble. They want to steal, rob, and rape. So we have to go out and enforce the laws. So when I watch these videos, the difference now to the difference then is that society was really strongly behind us during the course of majority of my career. When I came on in 1985, we had really had an upswell in appreciation for law enforcement, and people started to appreciate what was going on. We had terrorism happening in the country. People were starting to understand you really had to have strong police presence or you had a problem. And we would go out and you would enforce the law. Now, here's the reality. What's not being messaged to our citizens, to our children, to our adults, to everyone, is that the laws are in place because we, the people, want the laws. We, the people, want them enforced. And that's maybe what's different now. People don't want them enforced, and that's a whole nother conversation. But the whole purpose of laws is so that we can live a decent, calm, relaxed life without getting hurt. You could pursue and become the greatest thing you can become in life, whatever that is. So when I watch these videos, I'm really taken aback by how many people have now been empowered to not respect law enforcement, not understand what their responsibilities are, and put the officers in terrible positions. So in most of our states, and I think I've talked about this before, if you stop a car, the officer can get someone out of the car for no reason or any reason that they want. Step out, please, because the officer feels safer with the person out of the car. Now, we don't always take them out. Sometimes we leave them in there. Stay in the car, right? We all know this, depending on the situation. But the idea is, if you order the driver out, not the passengers, the driver is supposed to respond to the officer's commands, right? This isn't just Harry or Mary Ellen deciding to go out and force their will on people. You're a law enforcement officer. You're empowered by law to enforce the law. And there are things in place that the citizenry, me, I'm a citizen too. You're a citizen, right? If we get stopped by the police officers, we have to respond appropriately as well, right? So the whole idea is, you would say, do me a favor, step out of the car. And you know what people did back in the day? They might ask, well, how come? Because I want you to get out. And what they would do, they would get out of the car, right? If we were going to place somebody under arrest, we would say, listen, you have a warrant, you're under arrest, put your hands behind your back. For the most part, people complied. They didn't like it. Maybe they didn't want to get arrested. They complied. They put their hands behind their back, you handcuffed them, you took them away. What I see now on these videos, which is appalling, because it really points out how dangerous your job is that people will say, do me a favor, step out of the car. Why? I'm not getting out of the car. I don't answer questions. What do you mean you don't answer questions? I'm pulling you over. What's your name and badge number? Okay, they have a right to know who you are. That's fine. But where in the law does it says you have to tell them your name and badge number before they comply with you? There's nowhere that's there. Should you tell somebody? Sure. Somebody wants to know who you are. I'm Officer Pangaro, badge number 194. Okay. Now, the reason that people want that is they think that's empowering to them. They think that's going to scare you, that, oh, they're going to write my name down, go and report me. Simple. Don't do anything wrong. Be an ethical, professional police officer. Only use force when it's needed to accomplish a legitimate, lawful goal, right? Don't be a bully. Don't talk nasty to people. Treat people with respect. But that's where these modern messaging that's coming out to people is that They don't have to listen to you. Who do you think? Well, you're a robber. You're a rapist. You're a killer. You're a nasty person. You're a racist. That's who you are, officer. And therefore, I don't have to listen to you. And this is across the board, right? We see this with everybody. Don't touch me. Don't you touch me. There's a warrant for your arrest. Step out of the car. Don't you touch me. Don't you touch me. No, they don't understand the law. They don't understand the use of force continuum. And this is messaging that's bad and puts you in a bad place. So when I see these officers out there, step out of the car. I don't want to get out. I'm not safe. No, you're safe. Get out of the car. Don't do anything illegal or stupid or try and hurt me. And you don't have any problem at all. You get out of the car. I want you out of the car. And they argue back and forth about getting out of the car. I don't want to get out of the car. I don't have to get out of the car. And in many places, the officers will say, if you don't get out of the car, you're obstructing my investigation or my car stop, and I'm going to place you under, and they wrestle people out. Now, this is one of the areas that we do as a society need to decide, what do we want you to do? What is it that society wants from law enforcement? Do they want us to enforce all the laws that are on the books? Because if they do, some places, if you have a tail light out, you stop the car. You could say to the person, get out of the car. They don't want it. Next thing, you're yanking them out. You're handcuffing them, dragging them away. It's an ugly scene. Do we want to enforce all those laws? Right? I'm not making an opinion either way. I'm simply saying, as a society, the laws we have in place right now put you in a position to enforce them, because you don't really have a choice. You have discretion, but you don't have a choice about whether you enforce them. But is that what we want from our officers? Put you in that? Do we care about motor vehicle that much? Should we only write somebody a ticket if they have an accident and we see that the proximate cause of the accident was their speeding? Then you write them a speeding ticket? Or does society still want us to pull people over for speeding and give them tickets? Well, we all know that tickets are sometimes used as money generators for communities. We have to know that. That's true. Not all the communities, but in some, and it's unfortunate. So when I watch people on these videos refusing to get out, the biggest thing that I think I see that's different now from then is that many of our communities and states have lowered the penalty for resisting arrest. Because the reality is, if a police officer makes a determination to place someone under arrest, the only response that's appropriate from that person, from that citizen, is to submit to that arrest. They might disagree. They might not think they did it. They might not think they deserve it. They might not think a million things they might think. But the reality is, if an officer tells them you are under arrest, put your hands behind your back, the only proper response for them is to submit to the arrest. Put their hands behind their back, get handcuffed, and go to the police station. They can fight in court all they want. And if you did something wrong, if you did something purposely wrong, then you're going to face the consequences. But if you didn't, they can fight and argue about the reason you locked them up in court, not out on the street. And on these videos now, you see officers telling people 1 time, 2 times, 5 times, 15 times, I'm giving you a last warning. I've told you 17 times. You're under arrest. Get out of the car. And they won't get out, and then they have to wrestle them out. And then people are fighting, swinging hands, kicking, running, in cases shooting at the officers because they got a hidden weapon on them. And our society is now telling people that that's okay. And that's making it dangerous for you, which really makes it dangerous for the public, right? The messaging should be very clear. We have men and women who are law enforcement officers who are trained and are professional, which means you have to be professional whenever you do your work. And if you see somebody on our job not doing something professional, you got to make sure you talk to them about it. We all have to be professional. Otherwise, we're not going to have the confidence of the community. And that's what we need. But the bottom line is telling these people 15, 20 times, you're under arrest, get out of the car, and you got to fight with them. We didn't do that back in the day. The society was behind us. You didn't resist arrest. If an officer said you were under arrest, you were under arrest. So we would say to somebody, you are under arrest. Please step out of the car. And if they didn't, then we physically removed them from the car. If they started swinging at us, we would use the appropriate amount of force to protect ourselves and to take them into custody. Now, sometimes that's pushing them against the car. Sometimes that's putting them on the ground, and you handcuff them up. It was the right thing to do because it really minimized injuries to people, right? Because if you let them keep fighting and then they run and then they're swinging at more cops and then there's that is chaos. And that's not safe for the person that's being arrested or for the law enforcement officer. But our society has gone the other way, where it went from a felony, because we made it a felony because we wanted people to know this is wrong. You will pay a penalty for not listening to a lawful order of a police officer. Right, wrong, or indifferent. If the cop arrested you for something you didn't do, you fight him in court. You don't fight on the street. If the cop made an interpretation of what you did and thought it was illegal, you don't fight him on the street. You fight him in court. And that messaging is gone, and that's unfortunate. So the purpose of talking today is to let you know that I see what's going on out there. I talk to cops from across the country, and I know that many officers are backing down from their proactive police work because they're trying to survive the career. Nobody wants to do their job, follow the law, and then get indicted by a jury who just don't like cops. That is dangerous for all of society. So what I'm going to tell you is be professional at all times. People, if you stop somebody, tell them who you are. Tell them why you're stopping them. It's not a big deal. Hi, Mr. Jones, I'm Officer Joe, and I'm stopping you because you just went through that red light. I didn't go through, sir, I'm not going to argue with you. Let me see your license, registration, your insurance, please. All right, you look at it, I'm going to run your license, and I may or may not give you a ticket. I'll be right back. Then give them the ticket and move along. Don't give 50,000 questions unless you observe some probable cause to ask further questions. Be professional. Do your job. Protect each other. Right? Do the right thing. Don't let each other get hurt. Make sure you protect each other. You know the right ways to protect yourself physically, and reach officers to protect each other from assault and from injury. Take your training seriously as can be, and always be professional. The pendulum will swing back the other way. It's getting bad out there for the average citizen. In Oakland, California, the other day, there were people that work in a hospital, and the hospital staff, the management, advised all the employees, don't go outside for lunch. It's too dangerous to leave the building during the day. This is an upside down, dangerous, chaotic society, and people are starting to get sick of it. And when they realize they've had absolutely enough of it, the only way they're going to be able to get their lives back to a proper way to live without chaos, without danger, without threats of being injured or killed, just trying to go get a sandwich at work, is to turn to law enforcement and to support the men and women of law enforcement who are out there to do the right thing. And I know you are. Sure, are there some bad cops on our job? There are, and they should be removed. But I know that almost every one of you that are out there are good and decent cops because I've seen you, I've worked with you, I've trained you, and I've talked to you. So take it to heart, do the right thing, get more training, learn your job inside and out, be fair and professional. Treat everybody the way you'd want to be treated, the way you want your family to be treated, and understand exactly where your department sits with backing you up if you're going to enforce the law. All right. So I want to thank you all for being here. Now, listen, you can see we got a couple sponsors we got to talk about. Blue 360 Media. They sponsor this program. They are the publisher of everything and everything law enforcement. Go there. My books are there, right? You can find lots and lots of excellent books and reading material for law enforcement, for learning, all kinds of different things. And also Medical Essential Diagnostics, right? MED. They are in New Jersey only right now. And what they offer you is if you are a state, county, local worker in the state of New Jersey, you have a state, local job, whatever, you can go to them with your insurance card, you put it down, and they give you a soup to nuts physical within 3-4 hours. They check your heart, your blood, your lungs, everything. And if the costs of the tests go above what your insurance pays, Medical Essential Diagnostics has people who provide funding to help you, first responders and New Jersey workers, to make sure you get the tests you need. Because you know what? You want to live your career healthy, you want to have a good career, and you want to retire, and you want to be healthy in your retirement. So medicalessentialdiagnostics.com, go look them up. They'll come to your PD and they'll screen everybody, right? And blue360media.com, the greatest publishers for law enforcement. This is Lieutenant Joe for the Blue Heart Podcast. Remember, like, subscribe, and tell your friends about us. And be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem.